Hey guys, Harry Wilmington here, men's dating coach and founder of IntrovertDatingSuccess.com. And on today's show, we're going to go over a guy's message who wants to know what he needs to do to seduce a girl that's invited him over for the evening. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of when I post up new videos. All right, so today we're going to go over a guy's question on Reddit. And it's a guy that has had a girl invite him over for the evening, and he's wanting to know what he can do to be able to seduce her and be able to have, a very fun evening, if you catch my drift. And obviously, the techniques of seduction, there are a wide amount of things that you can do. But I want to kind of go into some of the basic things that you can do to start. Because a lot of guys I know get freaked out when they got a shot at getting one-on-one with a girl, but they don't know what they can do to make things feel sexier or to escalate to that point where things happen. So I'm going to go ahead and get into that. Real quick, guys, if you would perchance happen to be on the app Clubhouse, follow me there at Harry Wilmington. I'm on there almost every day now, giving advice in various rooms, and I love helping you guys out. Also, go to the website to download my new freebie, which is the Girlfriend Roadmap Checklist. And it basically gives you a 10-step layout to go from meeting a girl all the way to getting into a relationship. It tells you what you need to do in the span of those 3 months at various points to be able to really effectively build up and increase attraction and eventually get her to want a relationship with you. So that's something that interests you, then go to the website to get that freebie, as well as some of the other freebies that I have there. And of course, guys, I love answering your questions on this show. So you can leave a comment down below if you're watching on YouTube, or write me at HarryWilmington@gmail.com with your question to answer your question on this show. So be sure to check that out as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this guy's message. I'm going to read the message and then go through the answers and give you guys some really solid tips that you can use when trying to seduce women in their house, your house, or the bedroom, or whatever. So the question goes like this. The title of it is Seduction Techniques Help. I'm Meeting a Girl Tonight. He says, I'm in need of an experienced man in seducing women, not in a bad way, just loosening up so we can get down to business. So I want to pause and say this. This mindset right here, where the part he says, I don't want to seduce her in a bad way, this is a huge blocker that you may have to your system. Because in today's age, where there's been a lot of, there's been the Also Me movement and the womanist movement, guys have been made to feel as though if they're trying to seduce a girl, that means that he's, in effect, trying to trick her into doing an action that she originally may not have wanted to do. And while there are guys out there that do that, for the most part, you got to understand that women want to go to bed with you. If you're alone with a woman that's invited you over, or that you've invited her over to your place and she's agreed to that, and you guys have had any kind of banter that would indicate that there's some kind of feelings there, understand that part of the fun for women is being seduced. Being seduced is like a fun game to them, whereby there's playfulness of words and there's sexuality, tension in the air, and you don't need to feel sorry for that. Like, that actually something that needs to be there in order for a woman to have a really great experience with you, and they want to feel those sensual tones that you're able to give her. They don't want a guy that doesn't know how to turn her on. So think of seducing as a way to amplify feelings that she already has for you in a way that's going to lead to a physical connection being able to happen, okay? Get out of the mind frame that it's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing to try to seduce a woman that does not want you. But if a woman is giving indicators that she is kind of into you, then it's perfectly fine to go ahead and start seducing the woman. But anyway, continuing on, quick backstory. I've been friends with this girl for a few years now, and she had a boyfriend during that time. We used to hang out more often before, but in the past year, due to the COVID lockdown, I only saw her twice. But the first one was during last summer, at which point she was single. We went camping at a beach with friends. We drank and smoked all night. At some point, she came in my tent wearing a kimono and her sexy bikini and lied down with her front facing the floor. I was sitting next to her, so her almost bare behind was right in front of my eyes. And as if that was not enough, she kept turning her behind, so she was basically rubbing it on my thighs. No way was that an accident. All right, so this is what I call an IOI, an indicator of interest. Indicators of interest are being thrown out there. What that means is that a woman is doing something that signals to you that there is a possible interest there, and it opens you to also reciprocate whatever it is that she's doing. So in this case, this woman is rubbing her behind on his leg. For most women, they're not purposely going to allow their various sexual parts to touch a guy on purpose unless there is some kind of interest there. So if it were a guy she was not interested in, chances are, A, she probably wouldn't have been wearing the littlest amount of clothes that she was wearing in his tent. She wouldn't have gone to lie down in his tent. And also, she would have been very aware, oh, this guy's not attractive or I'm not interested. Let me not rub my butt on this guy. Okay? Are there women out there that will sometimes do that just to gain attention? Yes, but you got to go with the probability factor. And the overall majority of women who do this kind of action are signaling to you in their small way, hey, I think you're kind of cute. Hey, I wouldn't mind if you're doing something to me in this kind of realm, but I can't say that out loud because as the woman, I want you to come on to me and I don't want you to think that I'm overreaching or that I'm overbearing or that I'm, a slutty kind of girl. So I'm going to do this action and hope that you catch on and then make your own movements. Okay? So that was in no way, I would say, an accident on her part. Continuing on. Anyway, now she's living alone and has been in lockdown for 2 months. And she's invited me over tonight. What are some things I can do to arouse her or get her in the mood for sex? So that's his full question. So first of all, understand this woman's been on lockdown for 2 months, has probably been solo, has not had anybody else around. And of all the people that she could have contacted to come and see her, she chose this guy. So if we're looking at indicators of interest, does this indicate that she has a high interest? In the midst of a global pandemic, out of anybody she could have called, friends that she's known for a long time, family members, she calls this guy over to come spend time with her. That is a really huge indicator of interest, correct? So what this means is that she's already signaling to this guy, I want to spend intimate time with you. And that's not just necessarily intimate in like a bedroom level, but it is things I want to put together a time specifically for me and you to have contact with each other by ourselves. And if it's been a situation where they have been contacting each other a whole lot and they haven't been like texting all the time or whatever, then this is a pretty big signal that she's already down for whatever's going to happen. Now, here's where guys get confused because as guys, we think to ourselves, okay, if I invite a girl over, I already know I want to get some. And so the mistake that sometimes guys make is they'll take the invite that a girl's giving and automatically assume that that's what's supposed to happen. Now, what I will say is that is a high indicator of what could possibly happen. But when a woman that you've not been intimate with up to this point is inviting you over, what that's saying is, I am open to the possibility of whatever happening. But it's still going to be your job to do things when you're given this opportunity to see that that's going to amplify my feelings and then allow us to do something. So the invite over, yes, that is high interest on her part. But as the guy, she's still going to want to see you do things in the sensual way that's going to seduce her and make her feel like you truly desire her in that way. And a lot of guys mess this up because I used to be that guy that I would get these invites from women to come up to their bedrooms or to be alone with them. And I'd be in my world thinking, well, even though I'm sitting on her bed and even though she's like been, giving me hints all night for things, that doesn't mean that she necessarily wants to do stuff. And then we wouldn't do stuff. And then I try to invite him out later. Nothing would happen. But what I realized was that when a woman presents an opportunity for you and her to be alone, that's her basically saying, the floor is yours. What do you want to do with it? How are you going to make this happen? Because women, as much as they may want sex initially, the reality is that there's still going to be some kind of stigma, at least in their head, if they full on try to do things to make this happen. So she's going to look to you to create scenarios and feelings and situations to whereby she can be the one to fall into the madness that is your physical interaction, okay? And so to that end, yes, as a guy, you need to A, be okay with the idea of seducing a woman because they are going to want to do it by giving you the opportunity, and also knowing what those things are so that way it's not just a thing where you're trying to where you're either trying to force a seduction or where you're making an awkward thing like, hey, I'm going to try to seduce you now or whatever, and then it actually kills the mood, okay? Because it's going to be about a build. Okay. And I think a lot of guys they get to a woman's place and they try to go from A to Z real quick. Like they get there and say, hey, I'm here. Let's go have sex. No. Again, just because she invited you there does not mean that there's not a dance that you need to do to really build up that escalation. Understand, women are all about the building up, about the journey, about the getting to the point. If you just parachute there, it's no fun for her. And it's no fun for you because realistically, guy, This is your chance to really like put on the moves and show what you're made of, and actually show a woman that you have a little bit of game, that you can be a little slick and a little smooth. And women want to feel that. Like, you ain't got to be like that all the time, but women do want to kind of know that their man has a little bit of swag. And funny enough, I was in a clubhouse room today where a woman was talking about like the fact that she's cool with dating guys that are even a little bit nerdy, but they'd like to think that they have a little bit of game to them, that they know a little bit about the seduction process, that they know a little bit about what's going to really turn the situation from just being a bland friends encounter to one that's going to be like, oh, this is like a now sexually charged atmosphere and there's tension. And ultimately, seduction is all about creating a kind of positive sexual tension that you can feel in the air, that is building, that is saying this is a situation in an arena where if things go the right way, physical stuff can happen and it's going to be exciting. And you want women to get the idea that being with you in the bedroom is going to be as fun and as exciting of a time as it is outside the bedroom. But you got to be able to build up outside the bedroom to really make it explode in the bedroom. So with all that said, here are some things that I have found work for me that you can do to be able to help build that sexual tension and create a technique of seduction that's going to allow her to feel the journey of your guys' physicality. So the first thing is sexual innuendo. And that's very easy. It's just, you take things that she says here and there and you interpret them or you put them out there as if it's in a sexual manner. Part of seduction is having an undercurrent that sex is there. It's almost in a way, it's a passive, non-verbalized, but at the same time explicitly felt type of thing. And so saying sexually innuendo things or hinting to her that the things that she's saying are indicative of bedroom stuff is a really great way to build up that sexual tension and those feelings that will also let her know that you're on the same wavelength. Like, you're saying sexual innuendo things, she knows that you know that this could potentially be a sexual situation, okay? The second thing is getting close to her. If you have any chance of making her feel as if your guys' body could connect, it starts early on in the evening by being close to her. This means if you guys are in the kitchen together, getting wine or cooking dinner, that you're kind of like getting up close to her. It means if you're on the couch together, you're, putting your arm around her, or you're kind of like, moving in close towards her. Just things that let her know that you're willing to let your bodies connect. And as I said earlier, with this guy where like he was saying the woman was rubbing her butt on his leg or whatever, like that was her way of trying to get close to him in a more sexual manner. So when you guys are alone now in her apartment, this is now an area where like nobody else is going to see you guys. It's just you two, and you've already been invited over. So at the point where she starts showing those signs and indicators that she wants you to touch her, it's perfectly fine to start doing those touches early on. And the other thing is this, is that you don't have to go through for the sexualized parts. Part of the seduction technique is you're doing touches that were already going to turn her on, but it's going to make her feel as though you are starting to build up to other parts. So this is like doing leg touches or putting your hand on her leg, touching her shoulder and stuff. And we'll get into some of the other touches a little bit later. But the third thing you can do to build the seduction and tension is whispering. Now, I know you guys are going to be alone with each other, so you're thinking this is going to be kind of dumb, but when I mean whisper, I mean like doing soft speaking into her ear. When you're talking to each other, getting your faces really, really close to each other and just, kind of talking like this, like, hey, so what do you think we should watch on TV? Or, I really like the nuggets that you made in the oven. Like, just saying things in a softer tone in her ear, regardless of what it is going to already feel sensual. Something about the ear, like it just has these nerve endings here that make everything feel like more erotic and can touch erogenous zones, like whether you're licking it or talking to it or whispering into it. But that's why that whole thing of whispering sweet nothings is a thing, because just the breath of your voice really can turn on the other various parts of her body. So you want to not be so loud and boisterous, but really kind of quiet the tone of your voice and get really close to her. That's also allowing your face to be close to her so she can kind of get her into her head the idea that you two at some point are going to be kissing each other. Really, really effective stuff. Next one, number 4, find an excuse to hold her hand. Now, this is a big one because, if you've been doing just kind of light touches on her leg or on her shoulder up to this point, those haven't been things that you've connected with. Like, you're not really keeping your hand on her leg for a long period of time or whatever. But when you start getting to the hands, that's when you're like hand holding. That's when you're starting to like really be able to hold on to her hand for a long period of time. And it gets her comfortable with your touch and the feel of your hands. And a really great trick you can do is what I call the palm reader trick, which is by you say to a woman like, hey, so I don't know if you're aware of this, but apparently the lines on your hand depending on the form that they are and how long they are, they can actually determine certain things about your life. And hey, you know what? I happen to be a really great palm reader. Now, I want to say, most women that hear this, they're going to know it's bull crap, okay? But a woman that wants you to touch her is going to go along with it and be like, oh, really? Well, what can you read about my hand? And she will extend her hand, at which point you take her hand, you just kind of like playfully play with the lines a little bit. You rub across them, you kind of like smooth over her hand. And just that motion, she's going to be feeling your sensual touch. She's going to be feeling how you feel against her. And this is going to start getting her brain imagining, wow, if his hands feel great on my hands just like this, I wonder where else his hands are going to feel great. Okay, so it's very important to find an excuse of some kind and be able to touch her hand. That's going to be one of the big kicker offers of the feeling for her about your physical touch. The next thing, looking into her eyes. And this is a thing that a lot of guys aren't really good at, especially introverted guys, because they're so used to kind of like being to themselves and not wanting to give away too much about themselves, that understand the eyes are the keys to the soul. And women can really start to read a lot. And so sometimes introverted guys are really like, I don't want to look into somebody's eyes subconsciously because I don't want them to know too much about me. But you being able to look in her eyes, the better eye contact you can give, the more she's going to feel your dominant masculine presence. Because a guy that is dominant, that is a leader, is going to be able to look into her eyes and not turn away. And there are women out there right now that like guys that they would want the guy to seduce them, but when it comes to eye contact, they keep looking away, they're kind of shy, their head's down, and if you're that guy, you're going to lose out. Let the woman feel as though you are a strong guy that is confident and that is looking at her in a way that says, I know I can dominate you, and I'm going to. And don't think that the word dominant is a bad thing, by the way, because I know there's going to be people like, well, I don't want to be dominant because we're on an equal playing field. Understand, the sexual polarity and the sexual playing field, women want men to dominate them. They want the guy to overpower them. They want to feel his masculine presence. And it's also going to be in a way that is accepted because she's inviting you over and she wants to feel those sexual things. So don't think it's a bad thing to be looking at her in the way that says, I'm going to dominate you. That is a very powerful, manly, masculine way of being in the bedroom. And women want to feel that. Which goes to number 6, sensual glances. So in addition to looking at her in the eyes, you want to occasionally be like, say you're talking to her, you just kind of like, you're talking and then she's talking and you just kind of give her that little, your eyes kind of slant a little bit and you just kind of give her that sly look that's like, as if to say, I know what you're thinking. I know you want me. I'm gonna look at you like this should be happening because you're sexy and I'm sexy and this could happen. Yeah. And that sly look, believe it or not, is something that is very, very attractive to women. It turns them on immensely. I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations with women where I'm sitting there and they're talking. I just kind of look over them like nice little sly glance and like, ooh, like they get flustered all of a sudden. So I don't know what it is about that look, but that is a very good way to mentally seduce a woman because you're not saying anything with your mouth, you're saying it with your eyes, but your eyes are giving away every intention you have without saying it. So it's in effect building tension toward the moment in your head and projecting it to her head so you guys are on a connection mentally about what's about to happen. Number 8, aphrodisiacs. Very important because here's the thing, guy. Part of the seduction process for a woman is feeling as though she couldn't help but be overpowered by the moment. This is not to say that she doesn't want to have responsibility, but it is kind of a thing where it's like she wants to feel as though she was just taken so aback by you and what you were doing and the feeling and the tones and stuff like that. And to that end, aphrodisiacs, throwing them into the situation can really help that. And aphrodisiacs are basically things that are going to loosen inhibition and or make her feel like she can't help but be connected to you. So these are things like, for example, alcohol. This is why if a woman ever invites you to her house, most of the time she'll say, hey, do you want a drink or do you want alcohol? Do you want wine or whatever? Because she wants to let her inhibitions go and she doesn't want to drink alone and doing that. So I'll preface this by saying if you're a former alcoholic, this does not apply to you. But for people that are able to like responsibly drink, I will say that when women offer you alcohol, it's a good thing to embellish in that as well, because that is a way for them to let themselves go and to be able to say, oh, just it loosens them up, it makes them less tight wound, and it makes them more open to however the night goes, if that includes happening to go to bed with you. Another great thing, chocolates. I can't eat chocolate because I'm lactose intolerant, but I have heard that chocolate, women love it. It sets off something in their brain. I don't know if it's oxytocin or whatever, but women are really, really aroused more so when they eat chocolate. So it's good to have either actual chocolate that they can eat or a chocolate scent, some kind of chocolate candle. Speaking of scents, by the way, cologne. invest in a really good cologne. I have found that, the little cheap colognes, the Axe sprays, stuff like that from stores don't really necessarily do the trick, but like colognes that I bought that are like $65, $75, up to $100, whatever's in them, understand that women's scent is 3 times more powerful than men. I think it's because something about biology and having to protect their kids, so they got to be able to smell things out so they won't feed their kids poison and stuff like that. But the point is that women have a very, very good nose for scents, and especially scents that smell really good and that smell masculine and that possibly have pheromones. Like, women can smell those things and they will get instantly turned on by the smell of a good cologne. So half the battle of you seducing could be cut out if you just simply get some good cologne, spray a little bit, because again, women's scent is 3 times as good. You ain't got to spray a whole lot for them to smell a whole lot. So just do a little dab on your neck, a little dab on your wrist area, maybe a little dab in the crotch area, and then that'll be the full scent of your body. And that masculine scent is going to is going to hit at a woman's attraction triggers in her brain and say, oh my God, this guy smells good. I need to get with him because he just smells like a man's man. Okay? So that can really take away a lot of the hard job that you would have to do of trying to seduce with just your words and vocals and stuff like that. And then the 9th thing, get into a convo about her possibly being a bad kisser. This goes to like being, I totally missed a step. So step number 7, I'll backtrack, is being playful. So being playful with both your words and your touch. This is going to show her that if you're showing that you're a fun guy outside of the bedroom, then what's going to happen is she's going to think he's so fun out of the bedroom, he must be fun inside the bedroom. And also doing those playful things like doing, the play tickles, making verbal jokes at her expense, not ones that are cruel, but ones that are kind of taking little jabs at her and showing that you can be playful, that you're not taking yourself too seriously. Understand that women, they will want to bed you. But some of them do fear that you're going to take this bedroom experience too seriously and then at the end of it be like, oh, now we should be together forever and you should be my girlfriend, this, and that. Early sexual encounters are not typically going to be about you having to be in a relationship with her right away. So this is why I advise you guys to be playful and to not bring serious topics up when you're meeting with a girl if you're trying to bed her. This means do not have any serious conversations about relationships. Do not have any serious conversations about feelings of any kind that you may be having, okay? This is supposed to be a fun environment where you're being playful, joyful, where you're building up a feeling of happiness and a feeling of desire and sexual intent and excitement, okay? So leave seriousness out of it and be very, very playful. So to that end, jumping back to number 9, one of the things you can do that I found is also pretty fun is to get into a convo about her possibly being a bad kisser. Like, you're saying it jokingly, but just something to the effect of like, yeah, well, I don't know how you would get into the conversation, but at some point, if you guys talking about like if you guys talking about relationships or stuff you've seen on TV or whatever, you can be like, yeah, some girls, they're just really, really bad kissers. I don't know what you would be because, for all I know, you could be like the worst kisser in the world. And she'll take that and be like, what? How? No, I've been her. I'm a great kisser. Yeah, sure. Okay, whatever. Well, why don't you come here and prove it to me? And that is a playful way to get a kiss encounter. Okay, so that is something that you might consider taking because that is also, again, a playful yet seductive way of saying, hey, you know what? You want to prove something to me? Why don't you come over here and just show me a little something. Now, here's the thing, guy. Regardless of what you do during the seduction process, okay, at some point, the end result is going to have to be you're going to have to make a move. And again, through the seduction process, you can find playful ways to do that. You can find intentional ways to do that. But I think what a lot of guys do is they'll do parts of the seduction process, but still be like, but I want her to make the move on me first. I want her to kiss me first. I want her to take us to the bedroom. And there's going to be a point in the seduction process where you as the man are going to have to go in and do these things. Now, the idea of the seduction process is that as you're doing it, you're getting cues from her that indicate that she's perfectly fine with you making the moves that you need to make to go from just being playful to kissing her to go to the bedroom. So be sure you're looking out for those signals and getting consent on that end, okay? This does not mean also that you got to say, hey, so I've been seducing you. Can I kiss you now? Or is it okay if I take your clothes off here? Like, you ain't got to ask, because what I've heard from women time and time again is that it is more sexy for them if you as the man just are able to read what she's putting out there and therefore make the educated assumption that she wants stuff to happen. And hey, women are big girls. If they want you to stop at any given time, whether it's they want you to not kiss them or they want you to not go to the bedroom with them or take off their clothes, trust me, they will let you know. They might be a little bit passive about it, like, oh no, not now, not yet, or whatever. And if that happens, you got to be fine. Because understand sometimes part of the seduction process is also the whole push-pull thing, whereby, let's say you're kissing her really heavy and you start trying to reach for, like, you're trying to reach to take off her belt. She might stop your hand. She might stop your hand and say, oh, no, I'm not ready. At which point, you got to be like, you know what? Totally fine. Not a problem. And you just go back to doing the previous thing you were doing. And what I found is this. Sometimes for some women, you'll go where, like, you say you're kissing them. Let's say, for example, you go for the belt. They say, no. If you kind of just slow down and stop doing that thing and go back to what you're previously doing, sometimes they just needed you to do more of that previous thing before their brain got to the part where they're now ready for you to take off the belt. Then you take off the belt, you start putting your hand on there. Oh, no, not yet. Okay, fine. So then you're kissing her some more. Maybe you're rubbing around her stomach or butt or whatever. And now she's ready to grab your hand and put it down her pants. So understand, for some women, that's going to be a thing, because they're going through the process of, like, should I be doing this thing? I really do want them to do it, but they're also fighting the thoughts about, what is society going to say about me? Is this guy going to, talk about me later on? Is he going to see me as a slut if I give it up too early or too fast or too soon? And sometimes the seduction process to getting her from kissing to be in the bedroom could take an hour or so, or it could take like 5 or 10 minutes. But regardless of where you're at in the seduction process, you have to start it. You have to be the one to make those initial physical moves. But here's the thing, guy. Expect positive feedback, because if she's already invited you to her place and she's inviting you there where it's just you and her solo, and you're doing all these things during the seduction process to be able to get a read on her, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to be getting her to acquiesce and want to do this thing. So you're going to get very, very few no's if you've been doing the seduction process in a way that's been fun for her, that's been actually building up the tension to the point where she darn near can't help but to want to jump your bones, and to where she feels comfortable and trusts you enough to do that thing. So don't be afraid of the seduction process. Make those moves. Go back and listen to those things that I talked about, and hopefully you'll be able to seduce the woman that you're hanging out with into the bedroom tonight. Thank you for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment on this episode to catch new episodes every Monday and Thursday right here on the YouTube channel or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out other episodes so you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.